Hello and welcome to another episode of Play Cool Songs. I'm your host Nathan Leonard, and today we're going to check out a gospel piano ballad from Randy Newman called Louisiana 1927. It's just a pretty chord progression, and I like playing through it with my students just to highlight some essential skills for the rhythm guitarist. So let's jump into the progression. We're in the key of G, G major, D with F sharp in the bass, E minor 7 to a A7 to a C major, and then coming back to that G chord before we roll around to the first G chord. So I'll usually play that as like a suspension sort of idea, right? And then maybe I'll put a fill on that. Okay, so that progression there I think is just a really nice one to play around with. Really thinking about your chord tones, you know, and that A7 comes around. I need to highlight that C sharp because it's that note which doesn't really belong, you know, for the duration of that chord in the key of G. So for me to kind of hit a C natural over it would give me a dissonant sound, not too pleasing for the listener. So I want to avoid that kind of clash just by being aware of the notes within that chord. So progression again, G, D with F sharp in the bass, E minor to A7, C major to a G sus to the G, okay? For my B section, it's very similar with a slight variation. So we start again on the G. Okay, so I got my D with F sharp in the bass up to my B7. So all that's happening in one bar. So maybe I should count out some beat markers here for you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, up to a B7, which is taking us to to this progression here. I've got E minor 7 down to a D. Okay, so all up I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to a A7 to a C, and then back to my G with that little suspension moment in there again. Okay, so all up, G, D with F sharp, okay, to the B7, to an E minor, to a D, to the A7, okay, to the C major, okay, and then to my G sus to G. Okay, so my approach to this kind of tune would be really to create atmosphere, and so I'd be sitting back, putting on my tremolo, a little bit of delay, and just trying to create a vibe which sits behind, you know, the vocalist for this song. So I'd be doing that by just picking single notes out of the chord shapes, finding my moment for some fills. Okay, so I just do some simple kind of country Steve Cropper sort of stuff, works beautifully and in this style. And for me, I'm really just listening to the arrangement go by in real time, and I'm finding a space without pulling too much focus, which is, you know, just a moment for me to put in that connecting melody between two chords, or just fill out some space there using notes from the scale. So in this case here, a good starting point would be your E minor pentatonic blues, which is the relative minor of G major. They share all the same notes. So that's kind of a good place to start. So okay, and getting to my A7 chord there. So really the note that is from the outside there of that E minor pentatonic scale is that C sharp, which is going to be on the 2nd fret of the B string, or might be on the 4th fret of the A string. Okay. really just trying to accent that A7 to that C major kind of sound there. So that's just going to be the most harmonious way to do it. I want just to avoid that dissonant clash as best I can. And it can be as simple as you really just hitting the chord and just picking a few notes out of it. Another approach to this might just be with some different voicings. And so I like to explore this with my students, where we will just take the same progression and just move it around the neck and just try to find new ways and approaches of playing through it. So I might use that half bar shape there, coming out of, that bar chord. There's the, that C-shaped D, and back to my E minor there, and then I love these kind of ideas. So really I've got 7 on the D string, 4 on the G string, okay, and 5 on the B string, and then I'm hammering on there. I can take that up to the C as well. Okay, or maybe I would start here with there's my C-shaped G chord, and then I could play my, D triad there, coming out of that shape there, but putting the F sharp in the bass, and then there's my E minor. Okay, and then A7 to a C, okay, and then back to my G. So it's really a simple progression which can unlock a lot of the fretboard for yourself. And so for me, it might be a bit of an obscure song, but it's just a great set of chords that I think is worth digging into, just to find some approaches to play within this ballad style across the fretboard for yourselves there. So, again, thinking about that B section, that B7 chord there leading into the E minor, that's another one of those sort of outside chords, which is really serving as the, the dominant 5 of E minor, but doesn't quite belong in the, diatonic key of G. So there's another moment there where I really want to be highlighting the notes of that chord. Right? And just finding ways to connect that B7 to the E minor. Down to the D, and then back to my A7 there, to my C. Right, so really I just want to talk about rhythm guitar today with all of that, but I suppose it also leads into some concepts for soloing, where I'm thinking about all of those chord tones as well, really being my target notes for my my solo, and that's really going to give me the most melodic value when I'm playing over this sort of progression in this sort of genre. So I really just want to highlight notes of the chord as they're passing by. So there's my G, there's my D, and I'm really just thinking about that E minor. There's my C sharp there, okay, and to my C. Okay, and just these simple kind of melodic ideas are so effective in this kind of song. Okay, there's the A coming out of the D to the E minor. And I'm really just leaning on okay, that sort of that B.B. King approach, I suppose, where I'm just getting a lot of mileage out of one simple 2-note kind of idea. Okay, I've got on the 8th fret of the B string and the 10th fret of the B string, I can really just use that that position there to highlight pretty much every note of the chord as it's going by. So there might be another lesson just in the solo approaches to this, but really I just wanted to leave you with some ideas for the rhythm guitar parts here. Cool. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm always happy to have those conversations. And thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you for the next one real soon. Adios.